welcome to episode 21 of the Busted Buttons Video Game Podcast. As always, fantastic and great show today, which are really synonyms. So,
always,
yeah,
for sure.
I do that. I always use two synonyms when I really don't need to. Like, you're putting too much behind it. But anyways, let's get to it. We're talking Project xCloud. We're talking the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which I didn't even know existed until today. But you gotta have your different tiers of subscription services. You can't just have one. You gotta have 3 or 4 that ask for more and more
That's
money.
how they
But we'll
get you.
talk about that. That's not the time to talk about it right now. We're going to just talk about services next gen and like what kind of impact that might have basically on which one we're going to buy first. We're going to talk about getting back to the main stories in games and how that can have an effect on your playthrough. And then we're going to have a conversation on how much is too much. I've gone back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and there's so much to do. So, is it a good amount of content or is it too much? We're going to have a conversation about that, talk about photo mode, and then if we have time, we might get into a discussion on headphones, for gaming, obviously. Many people use headphones when they're gaming, and then also how they're putting crowd noise during sporting events in games, if we have time to get those last couple of ones. But first
off, topics, I like it.
Yeah. First one I want to start off with is the Project xCloud. It just came out that it is getting a September release. This is something we kind of talked about, a streaming service for Xbox. So, Red, kind of go throw it to you. What was your whole opinion on this announcement?
Well, I'm excited for it. Like when it comes, I know streaming services we have bashed on like the Nvidia's GeForce Now. We've bashed on the Google Stadia.
We've never talked bad about Google Stadia on this podcast.
But it seems like if there is a company that can do this right, that already has the infrastructure in place to make this work fairly seamlessly, it is Microsoft. So I am very optimistic that when the xCloud launches, it ain't going to be perfect. It ain't going to be flawless. And so much of it will rely on things like your bandwidth. But I'm excited. I'm really excited about the idea of being able to take your laptop, your tablet, even your cell phone, and play full-fledged Xbox One and Xbox One Series X, or X. Gosh, these names are terrible.
Well,
Xbox
Series it's a terrible
games.
name. Like, just call it, I don't know, Xbox, not X, but you've heard my situation or my opinions. Just call it Xbox 5. Somehow you can get to Xbox 5. You've had 5 iterations. You'll be right there with PlayStation. Call it that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. Just the idea of being able to hook up, because I've got a wired, Xbox 360 controller that I use every now and then on my PC already, just for games that are a little more optimized for controller. So being able to travel and just fire up, I have a Microsoft Surface. It's not a gaming laptop by any stretch, but just be able to fire it up and just stream these games using the xCloud. I'm excited for it. I don't know how much I will necessarily use it because at home, I'm going to have an Xbox Series X. I've got a gaming PC. I don't necessarily need it when I'm sitting here in my house, but when you're traveling, I think it's going to be such a great device or a great service rather, as long as you've got, like I said, good bandwidth to actually do it. So, and the fact that they're including it free with the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, that's just a perk. That is just yet another thing that made me pull the trigger on Game Pass Ultimate here recently. Like I said, we'll get into that in a minute. But so I'm excited. What are your thoughts about it?
So. Because here's my thing. 95% of my gaming, is at home. And that has nothing to really do with the pandemic. I'm just home a lot. And if I'm out, I'm not really gaming because I'm with my kids. And it's hard, at least at this stage in their lives, it's hard to be out gaming mobily. So almost all my gaming is at home. I think this is cool, the xCloud, even the NVIDIA GeForce Now and the Google Stadia, the whole concept of streaming video games on your tablet, your phone, or whatever device. It is a cool concept. It is going to be the future. I do like it. For me, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to be gaming on my iPhone. I'm not going to be gaming on my tablet. I do game on my computer, but I game at home hooked up to a monitor. So for me,
and your laptop can handle PC games. So it's not for the most part. I know we've talked about that in past episodes. It's not a gaming laptop,
but it can do the job, I guess. But here's my whole thing. A lot of the stuff that I do at my house, is wired. I have 9 Ethernet ports. I count them the other day. I built a smart home. I have 9 Ethernet ports that I run through my house, just because the internet's faster. Yeah. And my concern with this always is it's wireless. All these, I guess you could hook up a couple devices through Ethernet, but for the most part, if you're playing on your phone or a tablet, I've not seen a tablet with an Ethernet port on it. Now there might be an adapter here or there, but for the most part, you are going wireless. So I'm always worried about that. That means people going
Same.
wireless, like, all the latency and the lag, which I think is maybe the same thing.
They're
But
a
like
little different,
that's
but
always been a
still.
concern for me, but it is the future. Cool. I'm glad that it's coming out. I think they had to with like, the whole pandemic, the next generations come out, Stadia.
Yeah.
Somehow Stadia has still not died. They're hanging on. So, good job to you, Google.
Hanging on by
I
a
applaud
thread.
you for not giving up on this.
Yeah.
It's like, I love the memes. It's like one day you're just going to wake up and Stadia is going to be done. And there's
Yep.
not going to be any conversation about it. Google's just going to kill it. But you know what? The thing, kind of going not off topic, but I think Google believes in Stadia.
I think they do
see
too.
that's the future. I think they see that they don't have to have like a console per se because it's all streaming.
Yeah.
I think they think it can still succeed. They just got they have some rust spots here and there, but
They do.
I mean,
And
for me, I just don't
I'm
care
with
about
you.
Go ahead.
Like, sorry, I keep cutting you
You're
off.
fine,
I'm sorry,
you're
but
fine.
I'm kind of with you. Like, Google is not going to, they've invested a ton of money. And even though Google, we've said it before, has fuck you money,
Yeah.
that's still a shit ton of money that you're talking about investing into a service. And it is really early in the whole life cycle of streaming games. Like, I know like even xCloud's been, it's been beta for a little bit. Google Stadia hasn't been out that long. GeForce Now hasn't been out that long. It is still a very new technology. So I know it's fledgling right now for Google, but I just don't think that they, I don't think they see it as a sunk cost yet. Like,
Yeah.
if it, as internet access gets better and the capabilities get better and the game library and all that stuff gets better, I think that they're hoping it's going to be something that does grow over time to where it's sustainable and making money for them. They just got to work on their subscription model a little
Yeah.
bit. Like I said, I know we're a little off topic, but like, it is such a new technology still in the grand scheme of things. I'm excited to see where it goes. And like having Stadia around, it gives us something to make fun of. So I'm
Yeah.
always a fan of that. But, but competition is also a good thing. So if xCloud has a competitor out there, I'm all for it. So Google, keep pumping money in there. You've got the money.
Yep.
You're not worried about going bankrupt anytime soon. You own like 2/3 of the world. So just keep it alive long enough for the technology to get there. Anyway, sorry. That's my tangent.
That's fine. That's fine.
But while we're speaking about the xCloud, one of the things we mentioned is that it's going to come with no cost if you're a member of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And I'm with you. I didn't really know this was something that was out there until very recently. Reading about xCloud coming to the Game Pass Ultimate at no additional cost is what really piqued my interest to kind of look at it a little bit deeper. And I was kind of blown away. I mean, we've talked about Game Pass on here before and how it really is like, it's the Netflix of games for Xbox, and it's a great service, but I just never really used it that much. I never even thought about subscribing for it. But when I looked and saw like first month is $1, it's only $15 a month after that for Ultimate. And that gives you your Xbox Live Gold as well as the Game Pass. And I was like, well, shit, why the hell am I not doing this? I'm already paying what, $60 or $70 a year for Xbox Live Gold. Why do I not add this extra feature on there? And I know, we've been talking more about like PlayStation's exclusives, things like that. I think we're both kind of playing a little bit more of our third-party games on the PlayStation side. There's a lot of reasons for that. But like, I looked at this and I'm like, why am I not doing this? And, we've talked about it as a great service. So I was excited to kind of finally pull the trigger and go ahead and upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate. And it worked out well since I had just paid for Xbox Live Gold not that long ago, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And I got credit for that, what I already paid, because I paid for a whole year instead of just a monthly. So that credit went towards my first few months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So now I'm excited, but it does make my backlog even bigger than it already was.
Okay, exactly. Like we talked about Game Pass, but what exactly is this? Like is it just a game like you go and download, or you can just like, is it streaming? Like, how exactly does that Game Pass part of it work?
So it is like you literally just go to the Game Pass app on your Xbox or PC, because Ultimate comes with both versions of it. And you pick a game that's on their subscription service and you download it and play it as if you bought it. So I know this sounds like a damn advertisement for Game Pass, and I promise we're not like getting paid by Microsoft to talk about it.
I wish we were.
I wish we were. Hey, Phil Spencer, you got my number. Come on.
He does not have your phone number. What the hell are you talking about?
I wish. God, that'd be nice to have friends like that. But anyway, it really is like you just go into the app, you pick a game, you got to wait for it to download just like any other game.
Yeah.
And as long as you pay for the Game Pass, you can play it. And Go ahead.
Subscription basically is what it is. And
Yeah.
like I said, we talked about it and I kind of knew what it was, but it's one of those things until you get in there and like actually start messing around with it, you don't know exactly what it is. And that's kind of where my confusion was. I was like, okay, it's a subscription, but I didn't know exactly how it worked. And that's pretty cool that, hey, you pay for this service and like you said, the backlog, man. The backlog, this is just, first of all, you do have a bunch of games. The size. They take up a large part of your Xbox.
Yeah.
So, you can't go out and download a bunch of games. So you do got to choose. But yeah, it then does add to that whole backlog. But, you're thinking that some games, I don't know exactly what they have, but, games running $50, $60 and, you're paying like only $15 a month. But then it comes back to, well, how many games can you fit a month? If you're gaming like many hours of the day, then yeah, it is beneficial. But if you're only able to get an hour or two in, is it beneficial? But you know how these subscription things work. You pay for them, you forget about them, you never see them hit the bank account, and they just keep on going and going and going. And they know that, and that is how they get you. But this Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, I didn't even know it existed. I just thought there was Xbox Live Gold and then Game Pass that was kind of separate. So I guess it makes sense to combine these two things. Like, kind of a no-brainer if you ask me. Charge a little bit more money also makes sense. The first month for $1, that's pretty cool. But I think, and we kind of just talked about this, but the fact that they're going to have xCloud at no additional cost when it comes down September, that is absolutely huge because I'm guessing you go to Game Pass, how's that work exactly?
I'm not sure how that's going to exactly work when it comes to the streaming. Because I know there is like an Xbox app now for tablets, phones, PCs, whatever. I assume that it's going to work through that app. I do not know. I don't think they've given a lot of details on exactly the process of like choosing to play a game via streaming versus just downloading it and playing it on your computer or Xbox. I know people, like I said, I know it's been in beta. You can like sign up to like beta test it and everything. But I honestly do not know exactly like, okay, yes, I want to play this over xCloud instead of just playing it like a normal video game. So
I think I was wondering if you could kind of switch between the two, but it really sounds like you almost have to do it. Yeah, it almost sounds like you have to do it separately. Like, okay, you have Xbox Game Pass over here. You download those games. Obviously streaming, you're not going to download the game. So to me, it feels like they had to be two totally different services, which I guess means that they're not going to have all the games. There's no way they're going to have 100 streaming games, I would think.
Well, they're saying at least all their first party, like the ones that Microsoft puts out themselves, of course, but they're also supposed to be supporting cross-save, where let's say you're playing it on your Xbox, you save your game, and you go travel for work or whatever and fire it up on xCloud, it should still pull in that save game file because it's all in Microsoft's Xbox ecosystem. So I think that's a great perk. Like, it's almost like the Switch. You're sitting there playing it on your TV, then you just pick it up and take it with you, and you're still... you pick up right where you left off. So they are trying to at least have that like flexibility, adaptability where, your save game, no matter whether you're playing on your PC, your Xbox, or streaming it on your tablet or freaking cell phone, for crying out loud, you should still be able to pick up at wherever you saved your game. So now, like I said, whether it's going to be a different app or all built within that Xbox app that's already out there, I don't have a fucking clue.
Please do it within the Xbox app. There's nothing that makes me more upset than when you have like, okay, you have, let's say, it sounds like three different things. You have your Xbox Live Gold, your Game Pass, and your xCloud when it comes out.
Yeah.
We don't need three freaking separate apps for that.
No.
Like, nothing makes me more upset than when app companies or app developers do that. You can put it all in one app. Just please put, that's a different conversation no, it's not a different conversation. Just start putting everything in one damn app. It doesn't have to be three apps.
No, I can see them.
I can see them doing that. It's going to make me upset whether I have it or not. Like I said, this whole the Game Pass, that is kind of cool, and that might be something I look into. Or PS Now, I think, is the other one. But the whole xCloud subscription streaming, might hold off for them on that when it comes out. Kind of just see how that goes along. But really, it seems like Microsoft is really starting to focus on pleasing the gamer, which is awesome. But I kind of think it makes me wonder: could services be more important? Like like the Game Pass. And also the xCloud. Could services like that be more important? And I'm going to throw it to you on this. Could the services be more important than the actual game when it comes to next generation purchases?
I'm kind of on the fence. At the end of the day, the games are what matters. And I know that, yes, almost every third-party game is going to be on both systems. So it like at that point, it's just whatever. It comes down to the exclusives. But to me, if the exclusives are somewhat, comparable, or they both put out a great number of exclusives, then those services in the margins really are going to be a huge factor. Like, I mean, we've been talking about Game Pass and xCloud, and they also have their I forgot the name of it, but the program where it's like no matter what version of the game you buy, whatever console you played on,
smart delivery or something.
Smart delivery. Thank you. God, it just totally blanked on me there for a minute. I blame the whiskey I'm drinking right now.
Yeah, you should.
But no, I'm excited for those services, and I know that there's no way Sony's going to sit there and not offer something comparable. I mean, whether it's going to be exactly the same, we don't know. But, Sony can't look at all these services and just say, no, we're not going to do any of that. You still got to just, we're just going to stick to the traditional, you buy the game, whatever, So, but at the end of the day, the services are important and they do add up. But where are the better games at? Where are the exclusives? And obviously, I think almost everyone agrees that here in our current generation, Sony blew it out of the water with the exclusives. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, here's what I'm kind of talking about with this. Like, let's say you both have the same third-party game, and you have xCloud with Xbox, and then let's say PlayStation doesn't have anything yet. Like, to me, I'd be more, well, not for me because I game differently, but for somebody else, they might be more willing to buy an Xbox just because they're able to stream it on any device. And that's kind of what I'm talking about this whole conversation. Like, yeah, definitely the games matter, but what services come with those games? Basically, where am I going to be allowed to play these games at? That's what it all comes down to. And I do think that those things are going to matter with next gen. We kind of talked about some of the things that are going to matter. They're both going to be 4K. They're both, I don't know if they're going to be at 60 frames, but I'm guessing they're going to be over 30. I'm hoping 4K at 60 frames. That's what I'm hoping for. But the technology, the output, the picture quality, the sound quality, it's going to be, mostly not the same, but it's going to be comparable. Where I think you really differentiate is we kind of talked about all this stuff going on the screen with Ratchet and Clank. That's going to be a big part of the next generation. But I do think these services, what you offer to people is going to be huge.
It's value.
If you have xCloud and PlayStation doesn't have anything, which I don't know if they've announced anything at all or not, but they're going to have something. They have something up their sleeve.
Something.
They're not going to let the streaming go down by the wayside. But, if it has big problems like Stadia does, then, that can sink it. And, okay, yes, exclusives matter, but, also third-party games matter because, if you have a system that, you go buy all your third-party games. If you have a system that you really like and it does what you want to do, you're going to buy most of your third-party games on that system.
Absolutely.
You're not going to buy, mix and match on one system or the other. And so for me, I'm going to throw back to you because I'm losing my voice a little bit.
That's fine. That's fine.
I do think these services matter next gen.
And I really think they do as well. And I'm excited because this is my first time trying out Game Pass. Like I said, literally just subscribed here recently. So if that continues and you get games like Halo Infinite and any of these other first party games that we're hoping to hear about here in the next, here in the next couple days, we have the big July Microsoft showcase.
If I'm excited about that.
Oh, me too. And if all those are available day one on Game Pass, and I'm not having to go out there and spend 60 or 70 bucks a game like they're talking about now, that is such a value proposition for Microsoft. I'm like, you drop your 500, 600 bucks whatever for the console, but all of a sudden you're only paying 15 bucks a month instead of 60 bucks a game.
If games are $70, that price monthly is going to go up.
I'd imagine it probably will. So to me, I'm completely with you. I think the services do matter. Like you said, exclusives are the big headline grabbers, and things like God of War and Horizon versus Forza and Halo is a fun argument. But like you said, at the end of the day, most of the games we're going to play are third-party games, and we're going to play them where it makes the most sense and on the system we like more. And I'll be completely honest. I know I've been playing my third-party games lately on the PlayStation, but it's because I have a PS4 Pro, whereas I don't have an Xbox One X.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the difference on my latest third-party games I've bought in the last year or two, is because I have 4K on the PlayStation, and I don't on the Xbox right now. So next generation, when they both come out and they're both, they're going to be close. Let's be honest. They can argue over teraflops and all that, but they're going to be close. I'm probably going to play on Microsoft or on the Xbox because I like the controller that much better. I know we've gotten a long way from services and things like that, but it's like
controller's kind of a service if you add. It's not a service, but it services
It's a perk.
the games or something like that. I don't know. It feels like kind of like a service.
It really, it's a preference. It's something that if you like one controller better than the other, especially if you're sitting there playing games for hours at a time, and one controller is more comfortable than the other one, that's where you're going to want to play your third-party games. So, like, I'm all for the more services we get, the better, and hopefully both Sony and Microsoft like really focus on delivering these services. Nintendo, I don't think they're ever going to deliver any service.
Yeah. Man, this is kind of like, we've talked about this with Nintendo and the whole power thing. Like, they're not always, those gimmicks are going to run out. And we talked about this a few podcast episodes ago, or maybe last one, I don't remember. But those gimmicks are going to run out. And if they want to compete, they got to get on board with this stuff, or they got to find a different model. They're not going to survive. Like, we see where gaming is going, and I don't see Nintendo going there. And you can sit here and, they got this, this charm and these gimmicks and blah, blah, blah. They are going to run out, or they're not going to matter as much as they matter right now. Yeah, cool with the Switch. You had, where you could play at home and then play portable, basically, very easily. That's not going to be a gimmick going forward. You're never going to be able to do that again. And, technology hits a point. We've seen it with phones. Like, there's only the first iPhone iterations, there was so much change between the first 5 and then 5 or 6 or whatever. And then after that, the changes started, the diminishing because there was only so much you could do, and they'd already done it. And that's what's going to happen with Nintendo. But anyways, let's get away from that. You know what? Here's a service that I would like. I would love it if a game would tell you when it's time to go back to the main story, especially, in a linear game, you don't have this problem because you're basically always going along. But an open world game, this is a huge problem. And a service that I would love, this service is never going to exist. No. But if it was like, hey, Hick, get back to the main story and you'll get back. Well, actually, that's another point I want to talk about later on. But just get back to the main story. And this is a problem I was having with Odyssey is I hit that lull, man, where I was kind of just, I was walking around, I was exploring. And here's the thing, when you go back to the main story, you can get captured in it. And the next thing you know, you've ran through 10 quests and damn, you're getting closer and closer to the end of the game. Yep. And when I'm playing open world games, I don't like to fly through the main story because I want to do all the other things in the game. But here's where I struggle with it is okay, how much of that should you do before you get back to the main story? Should you do everything that you can do? All the locations, collect everything you can, do all the side quests, do that to the max before you move on to the main story? There's really no right or wrong answer to it. But I can tell you that lately in Assassin's Creed Odyssey that I have gone back to the main story. After I hit that lull and I was not having fun with the game anymore. And man, it drew me back into the game. And the story's not, fantastic or anything like that. But it kind of made me remember that, man,
it gives you purpose,
into that lull with an open world game, get back to the main story and it will get you right back into it. Is that kind of something you experience?
It absolutely is. And I think that you've kind of defined what I think perfectly is the best way to do it is you go do some of the side stuff until you get to the point where you feel like you're just doing the same couple of side missions over, or, points of interest, whatever they call them. And depending on the game you're playing, and you realize you've been doing the same ones for hours and hours and hours. And you're like, okay, this is no longer fun. I'm just clearing out the same bases or clearing the same fort or whatever.
Yeah, but you're building up your experience at the same time, which also does, one thing I forgot to mention, that also helps you out when you do get back to your main quest.
No, absolutely. But to me, it's such a balancing act because some games have good enough side quests and points of interest and everything that you don't hit that low. And eventually you're like, well, crap, I just cleared out the entire map. I need to go back to the main quest because I don't have anything else to do. But, like you said, with the Assassin's Creeds recently, even with The Witcher, I know we're going to talk about this kind of a little bit later on, but there's so many to do that eventually it gets repetitive. Yeah. And at that point, when you start feeling yourself in that lull and you think you're powered up and leveled up enough and geared up enough to go back to the main story, then go back to it because the main story of games should be, kind of what keeps you drawn in. And keeps you motivated. It gives you a goal. It gives you a focus. All the side stuff, I love it. I'm glad it's in open world games. It's the charm of open world games is having so much to do. But, it still should have a story that keeps you engaged, keeps you from hitting those lulls, and keeps you kind of feeling like you're progressing more than just an experience points or a level number ticking up every couple hours, whatever. So to me, I don't, like you said, there's no right or wrong answer on kind of when you go, but in my mind, you kind of hit it on the head. Whenever you start feeling that lull, just jump back and do some story missions, you know? And it's just most of the time, it seems like a lot of open world games now have like recommended levels that you should be doing missions on. Or at least a little bit of a guidepost like that, or an idea for how powerful the enemies are going to be. So for me, like, I don't like the biggest challenges in the world in video games. So because I'm just too old for that shit and don't have the time for it. And so I will go and do side missions, side quests until I'm a little bit above kind of those recommended levels. I know some people like to dive in and try to do, you know, like was, you know, it's here with Zelda, like 3 hearts, no gear, run through, go beat Ganon in the first thing you do. But like for me, I like at least getting a couple levels above that recommended like quest level. And not every game has that. I get that. But to me, that's kind of where I draw the line. Unless I know I'm getting close to the end of the main quest. And they'll be like, okay, I'm going to go do side missions until either I burn out on it, which I had happen with Assassin's Creed Origins.
We never know when you get to the fucking end of a game anymore because they go on for 10 more hours after you think it's going to end. Our complaint last podcast.
Yes. But like at that point, like when you know you're near the end, then I just kind of do the side stuff until I get bored. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of over this game at this point. Let's just finish it and move on. So it is something that I've experienced. And some games are better about kind of guideposting you to when it's time to get back to the main story. But it really is all personal preference. So I know some people who can explore around some of these game worlds endlessly. I mean, Breath of the Wild's a perfect example of that. We hear people putting thousands of hours into this game. And I'm like, man, after you find 900 Korok seeds, what the hell are you doing in this game?
Well, man, it kind of goes on to like really our next point. Like you kind of hit on this a little bit, but like, you know, these open world games, can they contain too much content? And like, you know, at a certain point, can it just all be, and I'm going to kind of throw this back to you because I'm asking a question here. Can these games contain too much content and basically can it become too much and too overwhelming? Like you kind of hit on it, but let's go into it a little bit deeper. What are your opinions on just open world gaming and all the content that comes along with it?
I do think it's entirely possible for there to be just too much content in a game because no matter how good a game is, like at some point you're just going to burn out on it because you have these open world games now that take hundreds of hours to play. At some point, I'm just tired of hitting question marks, you know, points of interest just for the sake of hitting points of interest. And it happens in almost every open world game I've played. We've talked about it with the Assassin's Creed games, you know, me with Origins, you with Odyssey, even in a game as great as The Witcher 3 that we have praised endlessly on this podcast. Like when I got to Skellige, I did not go after every single point of interest. At that point, I'm like, a lot of these are kind of a pain, especially when you have to sail to them and things like that.
We had the mountains too. The mountains were hard to get around Skellige too. So that also added to it. But I remember those smugglers catches, man. Like that was one thing I was like, okay, like up to that point, I had really gone to almost every question mark in the game. And then I got there, I was like, you know what? I am not going to dive down with all these. I think it was sirens or whatever.
Oh, those things
that like
the
most
worst.
Annoying enemy in the no BTs in Death Stranding have taken over the most annoying enemies.
Those are pretty annoying.
Yeah, but like up to that point, those sirens, I can't remember exactly if that's what it was, but those things were so annoying, and I was just like, I'm not dealing with all these smuggler catches. But here's okay. I agree with you, and I disagree with you on you saying there is too much content in a game. For me as a gamer, yes, I agree with that. But overall, as like a game for the industry, I don't think there can ever be too much content. Good example of this, Grand Theft Auto 5. Look how much content it had, and look how much content is getting added to the game, and people are still playing it. And here's the thing. Like me and you, like, you know, we're lucky enough, you know, to be in a good financial situation to where really if we want a game, we can buy it. Now, we can't go out, we're not rich or anything. We can't go out and buy like, you know, 100 games. But if we want 1 or 2 games, we can't just go buy it. Yeah. And so I think for us, like, you know, yeah, we like having a lot of content, but it does get to that point where you're just like, okay, I kind of want to wrap this up and I want to play the next game. But not every gamer is like that. Not every gamer can afford to go out and buy a new game. So when they buy a game, like especially if they're younger and don't have the capability to really buy games, like, you know, they get most of their games from their parents or for like a birthday and Christmas type thing. Yeah. Those gamers might only get 1 or 2 games maybe every, let's say, half year. And so if that's all you have, like, you know, the more content, the better. Like you can sit there and you can play a game for hours upon hours. So really for me, the answer to this question is no. There can never be too much content because the gamers are different and everybody's situation is different. Yeah,
That's
it might
true.
be too much content for us, but I think overall as a whole, there are going to be gamers out there that love having all that content and that keep on playing the game hour after hour after hour. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about people playing now, I think Breath of the Wild, their whole hour calculation, I think they count the pause screen because I played like
think so
400
too.
hours. There's no way I played 400 hours of that game. Now, has it been on my TV for 400 hours?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, probably. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But like talk about people playing that game for 1,000 hours and like some people don't like all that content, but a lot
Yeah.
of people don't have the capability to buy all these games, and like so for them that kind of holds them over, and they're not sitting there where they don't have anything to play. So
I guess for me, there's a couple different kinds of content that we could go into here. Because one, where you buy the base game and it's got just all these points of interest or forts to clear out, smugglers caches like you talked about, things like that, where it's you're still in the same world, you're still in the same area, but you're just clearing, like you said, a question mark or an exclamation point on the map. You're almost going through a checklist.
And I want to say something real quick right here. There is a point, well, especially in Odyssey, where like as you get farther and farther along and you build up your rank, those places like add less and less value. Like right now, if I clear out question mark, it like doesn't even raise my experience hardly at all. Like the bar, it doesn't even raise that hardly at all. So there is a point where it's not really worth it. But go ahead.
Yeah, but now if you're talking about content being added later on, like something like The Witcher 3 with its expansions. And I hate keeping going back to that game because I know we talk about it a lot.
I'm always okay going back to The Witcher 3.
But like both of their expansions were massive expansions that added a ton of new and different content. Now I see something like that. Or Grand Theft Auto, which you mentioned when they opened up the online mode and they keep adding to the Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Online for Red Dead Redemption 2. Like Rockstar's gotten that down to a science.
Yeah.
But like for me, that's a different kind of content. I am 100% on board with things like that really freshen up a game and give it legs beyond the people who play it for, maybe like the first month or two that it's out, they beat it and they never touch it again. So I am all for like adding content in terms of like expansions. I know if you're playing the multiplayer games, you get new characters now, you get these seasons. Fortnite has made a huge thing about like there's an event every single time a season changes. So that kind of content that is different, I am 100% for. And I think it gives a game legs long beyond like it normally would have. And I kind of miss when games had more of like an expansion pack type system. I mean, it seems like now everyone does seasons or little incremental updates, things like that. But I miss, The Witcher 3 having 2 massive expansions. Skyrim had several massive expansions, things like that. Like that kind of content, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like I'm all for them adding that. It's just when the base game has 10 million question marks and exclamation points, and I get everyone has their burnout point or the point that they're tired of a game, or like you said, the financial means to buy a new game. Everyone in the world is at a different point on that spectrum. And so I'm fine with having a ton of stuff to do because like we've talked about, at some point we can just decide, okay, I'm kind of over this game. It's time to just finish the main quest, buy the next game.
I mean, I think it's hard on people who went to 100% a game. Where this, maybe they don't have the time, maybe they can't have the capability to buy like, more games whenever they want, but they get that 100%, I got to complete this game all the way. That's, I think, the people that probably really struggle with this because like exactly what you said, those question marks, they do get kind of like, boring after a while because they're the same thing. And as I said, they don't add much experience and they don't add much to your ranking. So you do hit a point, but luckily for us, we're not the 100% player. Yeah. So like we don't have to worry about that. And like I do try to build up like, a lot and try to get a lot of experience points to improve my rank because I think it makes the game easier. But there is a certain point, like you said, where we can just move on and be done with it. So it's something we're complaining here about, but we have the choice to move on in the game and experience it the way that we want to experience it. So I say go ahead.
People will never understand what it was like when we were young gamers and we only got a couple games a year. And guess what? You couldn't even save in that fucking game. I'm talking Super Mario Brothers. That was your game. If you couldn't beat it in one sitting, too bad. You had to start over from the very beginning. So,
and we talked about how good those days were.
And they were great days, but now, I think how much content in games now is just overwhelming compared to it was when we started gaming.
Yeah.
I know there are gamers even older than us that had even less content than that. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it does crack me up. But we keep talking about open world games. That's something we talk about quite a bit. But one of our favorite things from open world games is just kind of the scenes, the scenery, the landscapes, and something that has recently kind of popped up in video games. It seems like just the last kind of just this generation.
Yeah.
Has been this photo mode. So many games now come with a mode where you can basically pause the game, move the camera around, apply some filters and edits and stuff like that, and take some absolutely stunning pictures. What do you think about photo mode? Do you like it? Do you use it? Do you want to see it continue? Let's hear it.
I think I need to get my ass in gear and actually start using it, because the very first time I used it, I've seen it in a lot of games and just really never went into it and looked into it. But with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I saw like an instruction that said, hey, hit the F3 key and you can go into photo mode. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll check this out. Why I finally did it on that game, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now here's the problem with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know where my photos are saving. Like I know where my screenshots are going to, but I've looked around for the photo mode, I'm playing it on PC. I have no idea where these pictures are going, but I keep on taking them because I'm like, one day I'm going to put the time into it and I am going to find where these photos are going. But I
bet they're on
Uplay.
I bet they're on your Uplay account somewhere.
Yeah, it might be. I'm going to find it one day. But to me, it's something that I've really not done that much. I did it a little bit in The Last of Us, and it's something that I'm going to use going forward because I absolutely love posting our screenshots on our TGPC gaming Twitter. It's something
nice
that
plug.
I would like to do more. I don't do it. When we started the brand, I did it a lot, and now we're doing so many other things. I don't do it as much as I would like to, but I do want to get back to it. Yeah. But here's the thing. I've noticed that dark images, where you can't really see that much on the image, obviously those don't do too well on social media. And what photo mode allows you to do is, like you said, you can edit it. So you can change the brightness so you can see more of what's going on. You can change the hue, the saturation, the contrast. I don't know what the fuck any of those things are. I just know they
But you can change them.
you move the levers and they do something with the picture. But
yeah,
I absolutely love it. It is something that I am going to use more going forward because, it also takes the menu and all the icons off the screen usually. Yep. And so it removes everything. It's basically like getting an image from a cinematic is what it's like. So I want to get your opinion on this, but me, I absolutely love it. Not use it a lot. I do plan on using it more going into the future. And I think it's a great feature for games going on for however long gaming is going on. But what's your overall opinion on photo mode?
I completely agree that it's a great feature. I mean, I'm all for, just kind of like we talked about with services earlier, the more stuff like this that people have the ability to use and even if I don't use it a ton, someone out there is using it and messing around with all those filters and messing around with all those different sliders like you talked about. I do use it, but not a ton. I remember the first time I think I saw it was in God of War, but that game was so kind of cinematic anyway.
Yeah.
And there's not much of a, like you said, the icons and things like that anyway, that I didn't use it much with God of War. But when I got Horizon Zero Dawn and started playing around with that one, that was where I really got into the photo mode. And so I've used it quite a bit with that, with Control. It wasn't in the launch version of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which kind of pisses me off because that game had some beautiful settings. And by the time it came out, I'd already beaten the game. So I didn't care.
Yeah.
But, I've been using it a little bit for The Last of Us Part 2 as well, because these games do have beautiful sceneries or beautiful landscapes.
The Last of Us Part 2 is absolutely stunning on the landscape.
Yes. So I do love it. I don't use it a ton, like you said, just because I'm not a person who knows what a lot of those adjustments mean. Usually I'll just go into it and move the camera around a little bit, zoom out, zoom in, that type of thing, and change the angle and take my picture and call it a day. But, just having that functionality.
But a lot of times they're just levers and you can move them back and forth. So you might not know what they are, but you can see what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And with how much people share screenshots, clips, whatever onto Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, whatever now, just any more tools that people have to give them that kind of sharing capability, I'm all for. Like we said with the services earlier, more options, I'm all for it. If people don't use them, whatever. If people choose to use them, then, I'm glad it's there for them.
Yeah, people are already talking about, actually, Ghost of Tsushima recently came out. And people are already talking about like photo mode and the edits that you can do to it. And like some of these images are just absolutely stunning. But anyways, as I told you all, we're probably not going to get to the last two topics. And that is the case because it is time to wrap up now. And as always, I never have my notes up for the wrap up when we get to that point. But anyways, all the links for this will be in the description. But you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. Patreon's kind of like a monthly thing, whereas PayPal, just a one-off. You say, hey guys, here's $1 or $2, leave me alone. If you can't support us financially, you can always leave a review or a rating. They help us out with SEO, which is basically rankings. You search for video games. If we get more reviews, more ratings will show up better. So that's how that helps out. And then we also have some merchandise on our websites. Two Guys Playing Zelda, TGPZ Gaming, and that's an affiliate. Those are affiliate shops. So we may earn a commission if you purchase things through our links. And then, Red, you kind of want to follow up with some of the rest of the stuff we got going on?
Absolutely. And the rest of the stuff we got going on is social media, and we are all over it. On Facebook, we have two different groups. We've got the Gaming Realm, where we talk about, as the name implies, just all kinds of video games. And then we have specifically Zelda Realm, where we talk about Zelda video games. You can also find us on YouTube. We have Two Guys Playing Zelda and TGPZ Gaming. Lots of great videos out there, especially from our Zelda days back in the day. We're on Discord, where we talk about Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, sports, booze, just pretty much anything you want to talk about.
We're telling you to join all these things. Go join the Discord. We have a ton of fun on
That's
the
a fun one. And they're literally...
Unless you're a Liverpool or City fan, don't fucking join.
So we do have a ton of fun on Discord, so definitely check that out. Then we're also out there on Twitter. Both of us are on Twitter. We have an Instagram page. We're out there on Facebook, so find us. And everyone, keep staying safe during the quarantine and keep on gaming.